Morning, everybody. Good to be back. How was Becca?
She was awesome.
Good.
Really excellent to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
That she has. I'm glad she was able to step in. She on Zoom? She didn't come in. She didn't come in.
Yes.
Okay. Because I texted her about that turkey trot thing that
They overstated it. There was parking.
there was. Oh, okay.
Online, it looked like it was going to be a complete shutdown, but
Yeah, it wasn't.
stuff happened.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, we'll remember that for next year. But the marathon still does block off this whole area.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Yes.
quite a mess.
The turkey trot. No, the
Marathon's in March, April. It's a different time of year. Yeah. So usually I see the signs, on the street, marathon coming up, and I remember that it's hard to get here on those days. All right. The session was great, rainy, cold, but when we got, it was well attended, and we had a tokudo, a priest ordination for 3 people at the end, which is nice. So 3 new monks at the Zen Center, which is, I'll check in with them next week to see if they've recovered. All right, so today we move on to case number 3 of the Book of Serenity, Book of Equanimity. This is Shishin Wick's commentary. He used Maizumi Roshi's translation of the koan, but I have Cleary as well, slightly different, but not much. So, preface to the assembly. By the activity existing before even a hint of this kalpa, a blind turtle faces the fire. By the phrase that's transmitted outside the scriptures, a mortar's rim spouts a flower. Tell me, is there something to receive, maintain, read, and recite? Main case. Attention. The ruler of a country in eastern India invited the 27th ancestor, Hanyatara, for a mid-morning meal. The ruler asked him, "Why don't you read the sutras?" The ancestor replied, "This poor follower of the way, when breathing in does not dwell in the realm of skandhas, and when breathing out is not caught up in the many externals. Always do I thus turn 100, 1,000, million, billion rolls of sutras." Appreciatory verse. Cloud rhino sports with the moon and glows embracing its beams. Wooden horse plays in the spring, unfettered and fleet. Beneath his brows, 2 chill blue eyes. What need to read sutras as though piercing oxhide? Bright white mind transcends vast kalpas. A hero's strength tears through nested enclosures. The subtle round hub hole turns marvelous activities. When Kanzan forgets the road whence he came, Jitoku will lead him by hand to return. Got all that? I know. So the koans that are pre-China tend to be very flowery and very, over the top, exaggerated with lots of, metaphor and flowery language. The Chinese were a little bit more direct. They didn't bother with all of that, but the Indians did. So just to give you a little bit of history with this, Hanyatara was Bodhidharma's teacher. So Bodhidharma, it was the ancestor that brought Zen from India to China. Not that the Chinese already had other schools of Buddhism that had been there a couple hundred years by that, several hundred years by that time, because this was 500, and so by the turn of the millennium, Buddhism had made its way into China. It had grown quite popular. Because Emperor Wu, who Bodhidharma met with, had already bragged about all the monasteries he had built and all the monks that he ordained. And so, and asked Bodhidharma how much merit he had as a result, and Bodhidharma very succinctly told him none. So, his teacher, Hanyatara, was in India, and it was his teacher that basically told Bodhidharma to go to China, but to wait until after that he had been dead for I think 40 years, which is why Bodhidharma didn't begin the journey until he was over 60. It took several years, which is such the very long lifespan that he would have had to have lived if there was just one Bodhidharma. We don't know. Anyway, so Hanyatara is invited by the ruler of Eastern India. So India at that time was carved out of several different principalities. So each one had its own ruler. Buddha's, the Shakyamuni Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama's family was a ruler of one of those countries at one time, but his mother's family defeated his father's family, and they lost everything. So they didn't do so well. So I'm not sure who this person was in the realm of all that, but obviously Hanyatara was a well-known, famous teacher at that point, Zen teacher at that point. So he invites him to a morning meal. Most of the other schools at this time were very busy doing a lot of copying and writing of the sutras. There was a command, if you will. There was an assembly that took place soon after Buddha's death of all of his followers and disciples, and they wanted to perpetuate his teaching. So there was this huge push to get all that done and copied. So nothing much got written at the time Buddha was alive. It all got written later. And so that was still going on at this time, 300 or 400 years later. This is still happening. Everybody's not only writing the sutras, copying the sutras, but they're reading the sutras. And so you're considered, suspicious as a spiritual person if you didn't read the sutras. Thus the question: why aren't you reading the sutras? And how can you consider yourself the unspoken part of that question is, how could you be such a famous spiritual teacher and not be reading the sutras? Because I guess they actually carried the sutras with them wherever they were, in wheelbarrows, and yeah.
Chinese magic.
Yes. They would wherever they traveled as a sign of their spiritual, qualifications. And whenever they were waiting or wherever they were sitting, they would be reading the sutras. Well, and Hanyatara did none of this. He was a Zen teacher. So the Zen in India, just as it is today, is not much on reading books, because it's about your direct experience and not about someone else's experience or whatever is written in the sutras. So Hanyatara very humbly answers, this poor follower of the way, this very bad Buddhist, and there was nothing called Buddhism at the time. That term didn't come into play until 19th century, the 1800s. It was called the Way up until that point. This poor follower of the way, when breathing in, does not dwell in the realm of skandhas. When breathing out, is not caught up in the externals. So he takes us right back. Yes. Skandhas. I'll get to that. Long definition. Good question, though. The the takes us right back to our breath work. This is why we breathe in and out. This was the focus of the Zen school, was focusing on being right here, right now, and using the breath as a way of focusing right here, because it's really all you're ever doing. Wherever you are in that moment breathing. And to really pay attention to that is to pay attention to what it is your body is naturally doing. You don't have to think to breathe. If you had to, if you had to, we probably would, be dead because would forget to breathe at times. But the body just naturally takes care of itself, and all the other internal organs are operating without even thought. But the breathing, is probably the most important of all that. So he doesn't get caught up in the skandhas, which the word itself, translated from the Pali or the Sanskrit, just means heap. But I prefer the word collection as a description, because it is a collection of all those things that make up your personality, and those things are considered to be things that we become attached to. So, it's Pali. So originally, group or aggregate heap, a term of the 5 aggregates which constitute the entirety of what is generally known as personality. They are corporeality or form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. And these aggregates are frequently referred to as aggregates of attachment, since they cause craving and desire, but are in themselves have no essence and are empty. So these 5 aggregates get broken down into a number of details. Leave it to the Indians to take a simple term and make it as complicated as possible. And there are volumes of books written on the skandhas and how to manage them. And Hanutara basically says, I do not dwell in the realm of all those volumes of books on how to manage my personality. And when breathing out, I don't get caught up in the externals. I'm just breathing in and breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And when I do that, I am my truth, my reality. Thus, sutra, basically, the sutras are traditionally thought of the word spoken by the Buddha, but the word actually means anything that stands as the truth. So he's saying, I am my truth where I stand, more precisely, I am my truth where I breathe. And that's what he's getting at. I don't need all of these other things. I don't need the sutras. I don't need any of these extremely long expository forms of writing to express my spirituality. I am this truth, this reality, right here where I stand, where I breathe, as I breathe. It doesn't tell us how his host received this. Obviously, he survived that visit, so he didn't become, because kings had a tendency to kill you if they didn't approve of you. And so by virtue of the fact that he left this particular meal and continued to teach is a good sign. So a lot of the other things that are the metaphors in this koan are a little bit important. The first one is mentioning a blind turtle faces the fire. That's in the appreciatory, in the preface, the symbol. So in Buddhist iconography, the blind turtle is a symbol of a person of enlightenment, and it is so rare that it happens every 100 years. When a blind turtle surfaces once every 100 years in the vast ocean to find a yolk with a single hole floating on the water, symbolizes the extreme rarity of obtaining a precious human rebirth encountering the Buddhist teaching. So that's how rare you are. So as a blind, a turtle that can't see, swimming in the vast ocean, say we'll call it the Pacific, suddenly comes up to the top and he finds a yoke or one of those life rafts with a hole in the center, and he sticks his head purely accidentally through this hole. That's how rare, um, the rarity of that in which that would happen is how rare it is that people are actually born into a life in which they seek um, or encounter the Buddhist teachings. So here you are. You are all blind turtles. But this blind turtle is facing the fire. And the reference is to Hanutara. So Hanutara is being tested by this encounter with his host, the ruler of the eastern India at that time. So is there anything to receive, maintain, read, and recite? The answer is there's plenty to receive, maintain, read, and recite. But do you need any of it? Is any of it real? Not that these sutras are not important, because they have served to bring this teaching down to us for the Hi, Kirk. Sorry, we seem to be having Wi-Fi issues, which means that the recording went off. Oh, I guess it's still recording. Okay. But I missed all of that. And Kirk left us. He went for coffee. It's like, okay, we're gone. Anyway, questions, comments, other questions, other comments.
I have a comment.
Yes.
My favorite analogy to what Buddha said is don't confuse the finger pointing at the moon with the moon stick. The scriptures are the finger.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah.
Seeing different organizations develop dharma like scar tissue.
Okay. Yeah. That works. That's true. Hi, Kirk. Sorry, we're having Wi-Fi issues. We'll have to speak to our parent organization about that.
IT.
Or IT. Call IT. And it may not be them. It may whomever they're contracted with. The provider. Could be the rain. Anyway. Don't mistake anything either outside of you, either within yourself, those things that make up your personality, the skandhas, or anything external to yourself as being what's real. Certainly those things serve their purpose. Scar tissue, dogma. But
I just thought of a Masaligi saying, "Stop putting your head on your head."
Yeah. And all the teachers have said it in some way or another. The attention is, Zazen is not a state. It is reality. It is your life. It is your day-to-day activity. It is you moving through the world as you, as your true authentic self. Just breathe. Sit and breathe.
That's what I like what Shishu said. It's just so simple. I forget how he said it. That's what you said. It's just breathing.
Mm-hmm.
To learn simple breathing in and breathing out. It takes study, years of meditation. It's just really that simple, and I forget, and I find it hard to believe sometimes.
Well, we forget because the directions we give for Zazen are deceptively simple. We just, sit, shut up, and breathe. But really using the breath to bring yourself back to being in the moment over and over and over again, because your brain just is this ever source of entertainment and distraction, even before the internet. For millions of years. Now we've just put it out there on a screen to assist you with all that distraction.
And that's what he says. When you breathe in, don't become attached to the internal stuff, and when you're breathing out, don't become attached to the external stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget about the internal stuff that's so easy to get attached to.
Oh, very much so. Because that's there. And we very, very, very easily get caught up in our own stories. And it's in those narratives that where the suffering is. Because those stories are always, if it's in words, it's after the fact. And it's a story we've made up about the fact, not the fact itself. So that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. Is we believe the words we have attached to the fact, the event, the experience. And let that go.
There's a wonderful video I saw which demonstrated that when people who've just seen something are asked a question, one word difference in the question would cause them to remember a car going twice as fast as they ever did.
Yeah.
That's how quickly we replace reality, what we saw, with our story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's this constant debate on eyewitness testimony. Yeah. But it's still considered critical evidence in court cases. And I remember watching this documentary on this guy that had been in jail for 30 odd years for a crime he said he never committed. And finally, he got an attorney to believe a story. And the attorney went to great trouble to reenact the entire scene in which he was accused of drive-by shooting. And so they reassembled the original jury. They were able to find, I think, all but one of the jury members. The judge, all the witnesses who swore that this guy was guilty, and brought them all to the original scene, and he reenacted it. And the first time, at the same rate of speed, at the same time of day, everything was the same. And the witnesses could see nothing at all. They couldn't see the face of the person who did the shooting. And so he did it a couple more times just to give him, you're older now. It's been 30 years. Let's just account for age. And so he ran it a few more times. None of the times they could see the face. And they were all like, how is this possible? We know we saw him. And so he had the car stop right where he did the shooting, and they still couldn't see his face because he was silhouetted against the sun. And so the witnesses had to recant all of their testimony. And after 30 years of being in jail, the guy was finally released.
There is a fascinating thing with people who began doing a lot of the DNA testing to people. They were surprised that the prisoners that they were releasing over and over again were the ones who, when they met the prisoner and talked to them, we'll test it anyway. And it turns out all the things about a person that make it so people would think he did it also make people not believe that he might not have done it until they see the DNA.
Yeah.
It's exactly the ones that people will tend to blame. They'll wind up going to jail for things they didn't do.
Yeah.
People blame them.
It's because of the way they look. Yeah.
Two are shocking.
Yeah. Justice is supposed to be blind, but obviously is not. All right. Kirk, any questions, comments? No? Sorry, we got interrupted. All right. Any final thoughts before we close? We'll get back on track. What's next week? Next column is oh, we did this one already. So we did this one in another book. So I'll look to see if this is any different in this book than it was in the other book. If it is not different, we will skip it, since we did it in the Mumacon.
Yeah, it says in the introduction a third of these columns overlap with the book.
Well, the Book of Record and the Gateless Gate. Yeah. Sagan's, so it might, after I look at it, might be case 4, which is the world on one points to the earth, or case 5, Sagan's cost of rice, depending on how similar case 4 is to the other book. But I'll take a look at it. If it has something different to offer, then we'll cover it. Why not?
Just
read the whole book. It's the whole point.
You don't have to.
oh, that's right, burn them up.
That's right. You burn, yeah.
No, that was this week's lesson. Next week you have to read.
Okay, let's close. Thank you very much, everyone. Sentient beings are I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. The dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. The dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. The dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. All right, a few announcements. I'm sure there will be a Dharma talk tomorrow from Yokoji. I'm going to try and not go, just because I'm still recovering from having been there last week, and I haven't finished unpacking. It's still sitting there. But listen to the Dharma talks on Zoom, and I'm sure it'll be good. We have a board meeting coming up. It's in 2 weeks. I don't remember the date. Mark's not here, but that's coming up. So everyone's invited to the board meeting. The board meetings are open. I believe it's second Saturday of December, if I remember correctly. But he'll correct me if I'm wrong next week. That's all I have. Any other announcements? All right. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for helping clean up. And thanks, Kirk. Always good to see you. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Larry.